You do a lot of volunteering, from lean construction practices to arts and children's health. What drives this level of community engagement for you?
I'm a lifer when it comes to volunteering. I volunteered for Adopt a Family through the Children's Hospital. And so every year we would collect donations for a family where a child was either very ill or terminally ill. Volunteers are a crucial part of how things happen in this world. And if you haven't volunteered, you're missing out.
How do you stay energized with the volunteer and the boards and all of that? How do you handle all that?
I'm not exactly sure, but what I can tell you is that for me, this industry is about people. And it's the stories about the fun interactions or the challenges that we work through together that I remember from all of those. And for me, a way to stay connected with the people is through some of the events and the networking and the community that happens.
Welcome to the Mastering Property Management Podcast. I'm your host, Jared Sarbit. Join me as we delve into candid conversations with industry experts to uncover their strategies and insights for achieving success in property management. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, let's elevate your property management skills together. Hi, everybody. I'm Jared Sarbit, and this is Mastering Property Management. Today, I have the honor and privilege of having Lisa Gibson on, principal at Colliers Project Leaders. Lisa, thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks, Jared. I'm excited and nervous to be here.
Awesome. Well, I know you're going to be amazing. So funny story. Lisa and I actually met on an airplane heading to Kelowna. And I joke that, you never know who you're going to sit beside on an airplane, and you're always hoping for, someone that you can have a great conversation with. And I definitely won the airplane lottery with
Likewise.
Lisa. Yeah, we had just a great conversation from beginning to end until we landed in Kelowna, and we connected on LinkedIn, and we have a lot of friends in common on LinkedIn, and a lot of connections, and I love watching you on LinkedIn. You are probably got to be one of the most active people I've ever known. You are everywhere, and you do everything. So I'm so excited to have you here. And you're fairly new into a position at Colliers as a principal at Colliers.
Yeah.
So why don't you kind of tell me a little bit about who Colliers is, and then we'll get into your backstory and all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm 2 months at Colliers in the role of principal. The part of Colliers that I'm with is the project management services piece. Now, Colliers is a multi-service line company. They do a lot of different things. They do something called construction solutions and infrastructure advisory, which would be a lot of the services that happen before the project management team comes to work on that project, a lot of that preparation work. They do IPD and Lean, which are those collaborative contracting methods, or I imagine they also support some of the projects by bringing some of those lean tools in if needed. And then furniture and equipment planning and move readiness is one that would come after that project management piece. It would help a client get ready to set their space up, understand the logistics, even some of the communication and change management that come with moving or downsizing or some changes to a space like that. So yeah, they cover a lot of different aspects of a project.
Amazing. Very good. Yeah, Colliers has got their hands in a lot of different areas. Tell me a little bit about your role. So as a principal, what department, or is there a certain area that you're more focused on? Or
for me as a principal, it's about two big pieces primarily. So one is the business development piece, which would be the business development, and then the other would be the people and performance management. So making sure that the people are cared for in the business, because that's a huge part. I mean, our people are a resource. So yeah, and then focusing on, in terms of the business development, they'll be focusing on certain sectors. Colliers is involved in a lot of different sectors in the market, and so I'll be focusing on a few, just to streamline my energy and activities in a more focused way.
Awesome. Very good. Very good. So let's go back a bit, Lisa. I'm really excited to hear your story, because you've done some really neat things. You've accomplished an incredible amount. What got you into the industry in the first place? What are some of the major milestones along the way? And how did you reach, where you're at today as a principal at Colliers?
I would say I came to this industry a little bit by accident. I did graduate as you know with a Bachelor of Fine Arts and focused for did a year of specialty in theater design, which I would say might have got me a bit interested in the building and design piece, which relates to what I do today. But that's also project-based work when you look at the theater world. When I finished school, I couldn't easily find a job. So I ended up getting pulled into that commercial real estate space and worked at a Remax commercial office. And then just doors opened until I was working on a construction project as a project administrator. And then from there, just found that doors kept opening and opportunities kept coming, and got more and more invested in what turns out to be project management. And working for different stakeholders has always been an important focus for me. So, owner, contractor, and now consultant as an owner's representative. I like having that diversity of background, of experience, diversity of perspective. I think that's important.
Wow, amazing. So 2 months at Colliers. What was some of the more, impactful roles that you had prior to that that has really kind of gotten you to where you are today?
I was at Brookfield Office Properties for quite a long time before I became a general contractor. And that was very impactful because I worked my way up through those different levels and eventually was leading their internal team of we called them construction managers, but project managers looking after improvements in the building, tenant improvements, helping operations with projects. And as part of that job, I would say I first really became immersed in the industry and the people and some of the important pioneers of the industry I got to meet and work with. I was able to be part of creating systems and processes that helped everybody do their job better, stuff that I think some of it they're still doing at Brookfield, to be honest. And my first foray into people management. And yeah, trial by fire. And you learn quickly what you should and shouldn't do by trying. So yeah, it was very influential on me. And then of course the general contractor was a whole different slice of the industry, but again, lots of opportunity to make a difference.
Amazing. I love it. Very good. What are some of the key character traits that Lisa embodies that has gotten you here? Like why do you do, like, doors don't open, by accident. You mentioned doors kept opening. Why do the doors keep opening? What do people see in Lisa that kept giving you those more opportunities and developing you, and you're developing what happened? How did that all happen?
I would say that I have some skills that are maybe a little bit different than the people around me, so I might be remembered or stand out for my differences in a way that's positive, like creative. I love, things that are a bit more public facing, which lots of people don't like to do. I'm not afraid of, meeting new people or going to spaces where I have a steep learning curve. Like none of that is something that worries me or holds me back. And I'm particularly persistent and tenacious about things that I think are important, which I mean, for every good quality we have, there's probably, a darker side to that quality. But yeah, those are some of the things. And I know what I don't know. And I'm always been very honest about what I don't know and what I need to learn as much as what I do know. And I think that's important is, you know, having that calibration on who you are.
Yes, amazing, amazing, very good. As I mentioned, you're incredibly busy. Like I see you everywhere. You do a lot of volunteering, and a lot of history of volunteering. It's quite large when looking at your LinkedIn. How much volunteering you've done, which is, just absolutely. I respect that so much. from lean construction practices to arts and children's health. You've given time and leadership across a wide range of organizations. What drives this level of community engagement for you? Can you tell me some of the initiatives you're most proud of, and what is the driving purpose behind all of that?
Yeah, I'm a lifer when it comes to volunteering, and I always have been. And it's funny you asked me that because I was in a meeting the other day and we were talking about post-secondary, and that's one of our sectors. And the question was, what is a monumental, influential, important moment when you think back to your post-secondary years? And I said, for me, it was, I remember there was a volunteer job posted on the board in the fine arts faculty. And it was one of the schools in a part of the city that would be, you know, a bit more of an economically challenged part of the city or economically diverse, was looking for volunteers to help them with their end of the year school production. And so I immediately volunteered, and they found out later that they posted it in the wrong faculty. They wanted an education student, but they said, sure, come on. And working with those kids, like, I realized I'd led a fairly sheltered life and living in the Northwest, and always been sort of in that healthy middle class part of the economic structure. Yeah, these were kids who had very different struggles than me, and this performance they were doing for school was so important to them, and they put everything into it, and I got to meet their parents. And yeah, it was, in hindsight, it was a really important experience. And volunteer experiences are exactly that. Like, when I think, when I was at Brookfield, I volunteered for Adopt a Family through the Children's Hospital, and I led that initiative for, oh gosh, I think it was 12 years. It was a long time. And so every year we would collect donations for a family where a child was either very ill or terminally ill. And then I always wanted to deliver those donations personally. And yeah, like, those are the moments that change you. And if we didn't have volunteers, like even volunteering for my kids' schools, I do at least one field trip a year because I know what a difference it makes. Like, volunteers are a crucial part of how things happen in this world. And if you haven't volunteered, you're missing out. You're missing out on so much. It's funny, Jared, you say about volunteering, because right now I have less sort of like boards that I'm volunteering for, or sort of structured volunteering, and I feel like I'm not doing enough. I feel
Oh yeah.
like I feel like I'm like slacking.
Yeah, well, we can cut you some slack. You just started a new career, like give it some time,
Uh,
settle in, and yeah. But that's amazing. That's not everyone has that, right? Like that deep desire to give back to the community, and I couldn't agree more. I mean, every time we do something as a company or personally, I find I probably get more out of it than the people that we're supporting
yes,
personally. Like it's just there's just so much value that you go home with true purpose, and it feels just amazing. It feels awesome.
I have to tell you one other quick story. Last year, I think it was last year in the winter, I took my now 17-year-old with me to volunteer at the Mustard Seed. So it was one of their satellite locations in the deep northeast or southeast. And we did meal prep and then served the meal. And yeah, I'll tell you right now, he might not have realized it in that moment, but that experience changed him. He's not seen people who are struggling like that. He's not had to, serve someone a meal and be humbled in that way, and think like that might be the only meal that person gets. And I remember him commenting to me that some of the people, like, were dressed like nicely, or dressed like, and he didn't like that conversation about, like, well, why would they need to come here for food, and talk about, well, you can't judge somebody like that. You just don't know. And people are, they don't want the world to know that they're struggling. Or yeah, like, it was such a good conversation, which is the other piece about volunteering, is you everyone becomes a bit vulnerable to talk about stuff that you might not otherwise talk about.
Yes, yes. No, it's amazing. I love it. Thank you for all your service there. Really, really amazing.
I love it.
Um, Yeah, great. So you've led both, industry and employee-based initiatives. How is leadership different when it's community focused versus business focused? And what have you learned from each side?
I don't know that they're that different, in honesty. I would say that maybe the one difference that comes to mind is when they are business initiatives, they're a bit more, you get a bit more of that, well, I was voluntold. If they're community based, people tend to be there because they're there for the greater good. They're there because they want to make a difference. They're there of their own volition. So I do think though that when I look at company initiatives, the ones that I've been involved in, I'm there because I believe in them. So for me, it might not be that different, but I do run into that. I remember at one point I asked someone in industry if they would speak at an event. It was in a different province, so I couldn't do it. And I was only asking them something I would do myself, right? I wasn't asking them to do something more or less. And we had this chat about it. And then there was a comment they made at the very end where they said, because I said, "Oh, wonderful that you're doing this. I'm so excited. Like it'll be so great for you." And the answer was, "Well, I was voluntold."
Mm,
And I immediately like just deflated me.
yeah,
What I want to say to that is, don't do it then.
yeah,
Like, don't do
right.
things you're voluntold to do in this kind
Yeah,
of example, right?
yeah,
Sometimes we
for
have to do
sure.
things, but don't do it. You shouldn't do things that truly don't have some kind of connection or find some like benefit to, right? I don't understand that.
Yeah, that's a great point. So finding as a business, finding a way to engage people that they desire to do it is an
Yes.
important thing to do. Talking about lean, you've been involved with them for the lean community practice. Sorry, lean construction. Is that what it's called?
Well, it's the lean community of practice and it's design and construction. Originally, it was focused on construction, but there's a real movement to like expand that to all the stakeholders that interact in that space. And I know LinkedIn shows 7 years. It's not exactly right, but I don't know how to show it. I think I took 2 years in the middle and didn't volunteer with them, just attended.
Gotcha. Okay, but it's been a long time. So,
But
tell me
yeah,
a little bit about who is lean community of practice.
the lean community of practice. Well, there's this beautiful mission statement. If you go to the Calgary Construction Association or Lean Design and Construction Canada, ultimately it is about taking lean and the tools and the understanding of it and the benefit it can provide and spreading the word to get people to find a way to embrace it.
Hmm. Okay. Amazing. And what are some examples of those tools that are used?
I mean, lean is about, some people will tell you it's about reducing waste and maximizing value, which I don't think is untrue, but it really, for me, the key part of lean is at the very center of whatever you're doing. It's about respect for people and it's about truly caring and nurturing the people and making sure that the people have a voice in what you're doing. Because if you are, for example, looking at Last Planner, which is, you might have seen it on some of the projects you're on, you're pulling the schedule out. You have the people who are actually doing the work telling you how much time they need or what constraints they're going to run into or what predecessors need to be in place so that they can do what they need to do. And you're not asking, the project manager at the office or the owner of the company. You're actually asking the foreperson on that site who's doing that work. And that's part of that respect for people is giving that person a voice. And if they can't do something or if they're struggling to do something, they need to feel safe. So there's that psychological safety which comes into respect for people. They need to feel safe to be able to say, this didn't happen and now I'm in trouble, or you know something's going on that they need help with.
Amazing. Yeah, that's so important. Very good. So tell me, how do you manage all this? Everything that you have going on. You mentioned that you have a little less right now, but I'm sure it's still a ton. But like, how do you stay energized? How do you, you know, with the volunteer and the boards and all of that, how do you handle all that?
I'm not sure, actually. I'm not exactly sure, but what I can tell you is that for me, this industry is about people. So I've been involved in lots of different projects, and sometimes I'll point them out to my kids. We lived in Tuscany for a while, and we used to talk about the Tuscany Fire Hall that, when I worked at Stuart Olson, we did that. But really, it's the people and it's the stories about the fun interactions or the challenges that we work through together that I remember from all of those. And for me, a way to stay connected with the people is through some of the events and the networking and the community that happens. Like at Colliers, for example, on Thursdays, I mean, we have a hybrid working environment, and Thursdays, they really want to encourage people to come in, a few days a week or more. So we do, a happy hour, which is just to bring people together. So we do this community making time on Thursdays from 4 to 5. And to me, that like whatever you worked on all day, like just seeing the people you work with and chatting to them and like really knowing who they are when they're having good times and bad times, like really knowing that about them. Yeah, so I don't actually find that like a challenge because I love it. And those are the people who over my career have been there for me when I've needed something or, even just someone to talk to or someone to bounce things off of or a reference or whatever. Those are the people who are there for me. So I have all the time in the world for them.
Wow. So what I'm hearing is, because the question was, where do you find the energy? But it sounds like you find the energy from by being around great people that like you feed off that. You truly enjoy the, being with great people. Is that,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes. If you told me that I needed to work remotely from my basement all the time with like a fully remote team and couldn't do any of this stuff because it's also the, like helping industry and helping that next generation of workforce, like those kinds of things are important. Yeah, I would find the day to day a really hard go because I don't have that, that community and socializing piece that pulls it all together.
awesome, awesome. Very good. So as you mentioned, you have a Bachelor of Fine Arts.
Hmm.
Quite an unconventional background in
Yes.
the world of construction. How has the arts education influenced your approach? You kind of mentioned it already a little bit from
Yeah.
being creative and to leadership or problem solving. How has that helped you along the way?
So I'll just tell you something about that first. So when I was at LedCore, we did insights. So everybody does an insights profile. And I don't know if if you know insights, but everybody has a leading color, or some people have two leading colors. But let's say everyone has a leading color. So, there's red, which is sort of direct and using few words, and there's yellow, which is sunshine yellow, and there's green, which is nurturing and caring, and there's blue, which is quite analytical. Two of them are introverted, more introverted, two of them are more extroverted. And they will tell you that your very best team ever will have all of those colors. It'll be a mix of those colors because everybody will do different things well and be drawn to different things. And when I look at the composition, like a few years ago, we did a bit of a team building and we had all of the leadership team. This was at LedCore in the same room. And one of the things we did was go like each color go to a different corner so we could get to know if we didn't know already what the colors were. And I think there were 12 of us, 11 or 12 of us. We were almost equally split between all the colors. And when you think about, I mean, I don't want to get hung up on my education because it is typically different than the rest in the room. But um, when you look at the skill sets that are sort of inherent to pursuing an arts or a more creative education, they play into that sunshine yellow, which you tend to find is, like the leader might be that color, or the business development person might be that color, or the marketing folks, or like it shows up in a lot of places that are incredibly important to business. And I would say one of the skills it's taught me is that sort of I was going to say emotional rallying because I can't think of a better word, but that ability to kind of really hone into the emotional I feel versus I think. That's how I often express myself, is how I feel about things, and it's so important in business. And I think if you look back, I don't know, 20 years, 30 years, there were a lot of very analytical people sitting in those spaces with, like a caring office manager who sort of made sure that people's feelings didn't get hurt. And thank goodness it's changed. Thank goodness that there's space for someone like me who is, perhaps on paper unconventional, but um yeah, so I think it's great that we have all these different kind of personalities and strengths coming together. And I've come to learn that I really appreciate the strengths I have, like even though they can be different from sort of the typical maybe engineer that I'm working with, but that's okay. It's created some of the most amazing collaborations.
Very cool. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
amazing. We did do that in our business as well, and I'm almost embarrassed to say that I was like extreme on the red. Like I was like right at the
Oh, I'm
top.
very
But
high red.
yeah,
I'm
are you?
I'm I'm very high yellow with quite strong red.
Oh, interesting. Okay,
Hmm.
okay, okay. Very cool. Yeah, because but the good thing was my partner was like the exact opposite. I can't remember.
Yes.
Maybe it was like a yellow, green, or I can't remember what it was actually. But it was exact opposite corner of the circle.
Yeah.
That was so interesting because out of all the people in the program that did it, I was the highest in the red, and he was the highest in the other color, whatever it was. I can't remember.
Yes.
And so it was so interesting that we were both on the opposite ends, but it works really well.
So one of my coworkers here happens to be at Colliers, but we've been doing some lecturing at SAIT on professional skills and soft skills for 5 years actually. And one of the messages, the reason why we partnered is because she's very, I would say, probably very blue, like very analytical. She's an engineer, and so we are quite opposite. And that's one of my messages to the students. And I have a picture of the Insights colors. And I tell the story about how their instructor, when he worked with me at LedCorp, he's very blue and very introverted. And I'm the opposite. But when it came to getting a project done, he was all over doing like the Excel sheets and like head down and not having to talk to people. And I could do the stuff that wasn't his foray. And it works out beautifully in that every one of those personalities has a crucial role to play.
Yes,
You don't want a
yes.
room full of blues or yellows
That's
for
right.
that matter.
That's right. Yeah, no, it's awesome. I love it. I love where we're at in the world of business today, where we can really
Agreed.
understand that. It's a great place. Yeah. Being a principal at Colliers Project Leaders and a key part of the Calgary leadership team, what does that leadership role entail specifically in terms of growing the business unit and developing new market opportunities?
Colliers is in a huge growth space right now. Huge. It will be growing the business in terms of making sure that we're servicing existing clients as much as we can and they need, making sure that they don't have needs that we can't fulfill, that we aren't doing so. It'll be growing in some of those sectors. There's a lot of sectors that, whether it's since COVID or whatever the reason was, were on hold. We have a huge push to build housing. Immigration services are a bit in flux, but that's probably a space where immigration will affect some of these things that we need, and train lines all across the country. So Colliers has this amazing network of experts in all of these different sectors. And so it'll be working with them to support however my skill sets and the Calgary office support those growth plans. But yeah, that for me, that's one of the most exciting parts is I get to kind of learn about some of the sectors I didn't know that much about before, or knew about it from a very like simple vantage point as a contractor.
Hmm. Amazing, amazing. I imagine there's just endless amount of information you could learn and absorb,
Oh
and
yeah.
Yeah, it must be a lot of fun for you right now,
It's
knowing your
great.
personality.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Yep.
awesome. Very good. Colliers focuses on delivering capital project solutions for clients. In your experience, what sets Colliers apart from the other firms and how you manage projects from concept to completion?
Colliers is all about quality. So there is a robust um, framework behind how projects are executed. They have this amazing expertise across the company. So if transportation project or a healthcare project, there is amazing expertise in this company, like often very recognizable experts are embedded in the company. So everybody has access to that knowledge. And truly customer service is crucial, which is great because customer service to me is like the foundational cornerstone of this kind of work.
I bet.
Hmm.
I bet. Okay, no, very good. And as you mentioned, Colliers works in vast amount of sectors, from public to private sectors, healthcare, education, commercial real estate. Um, what sectors or services areas are you seeing the most potential growth in? And maybe this question is a little bit too early because
Yeah.
but maybe from your previous career, maybe have some insight into that as well.
I think all major sectors are experiencing growth in Canada. I think that's sort of a bit of an easy answer. For me, the focuses will be more on like private sector and post-secondary. There's a lot of work happening in the Indigenous space. There's a lot of infrastructure needs, some in the Indigenous space and some just across Canada, and then housing. And they're also interconnected because if you build, for example, if you build a green line, then you're building housing because you want people to have access to transportation. And then when you build housing, you need the infrastructure for those people. So you need grocery stores and shopping malls and yeah, gas stations. And so I sometimes have trouble seeing where it starts and where it ends because it's also interconnected. It's just maybe who makes the first move, whether it's Alberta Infrastructure building the school or it's the city of Calgary building the event center. Like something is happening first, probably, but it then touches on so many different sectors. So I do find that question hard to answer for that reason because I don't know where it always is starting, but the spin on the knockoff effect is huge.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Awesome. As a senior leader in project delivery and construction consulting, what advice would you give aspiring professionals, especially those in the early stages of their career who hope to grow into leadership roles like yours?
Probably two things come to mind. So the first one is start volunteering, like get out in industry and start making some connections and you learn amazing skills through volunteering. That's the other thing I would say, because that ties to my second point, which is a lot of folks we see coming into the industry are very strong in their technical skills, probably all like very equal in their technical skills, but it's the other skills, the professional skills or soft skills, whatever you want to call them, where they're not at the same place. And part of that is just wisdom and experience and so volunteering is one thing I've said that you can use that to start to build on those skills. Another thing I've said to the students at SAIT is if you can become somebody who does presentations or speaks in front of a crowd, that's the differentiator, I would say, in this marketplace. People can't run far and fast enough from those kind of opportunities. So, I mean, for me, I joined Toastmasters not for that reason, but just to help myself with some of the sort of structure that you learn in Toastmasters, but really honing in on where you can practice and develop some of those skills.
Hmm. I love that. Yeah, that is a tough skill to learn. It's often people either have that skill or they don't, but there's one of those things that you definitely can learn. You
Oh,
absolutely
yes. You might
can.
not
No
like
question.
it. Like it might not be your
Yeah.
favorite thing to do,
Right. Right.
but you should have a competency is what I would say. Whatever those strategies are you need to develop so that you feel competent in it. I know just talking about Toastmasters for a moment. So they do two. kind of streams. So one is prepared presentations, they have learning pathways, but then they also have impromptu speaking. And I've heard people will join Toastmasters for just one of those. Like if you're okay if you present a presentation, that's great, but you can also go there and learn impromptu speaking skills, which are completely different. And so the way it works is you don't know the question, you volunteer to speak, and then you have 1 to 2 minutes, and everything's timed, everything's structured. So you start to learn what 1 to 2 minutes of speaking feels like. You start to learn how to structure, and you get feedback in the moment.
Huh. That's
So,
amazing. Brilliant.
yes, yeah,
Brilliant. Well, you're clearly very good at it because before we started recording, you told me you didn't have time to read the questions. So,
yes, correct,
so
correct.
you're a great impromptu speaker. Toastmasters, here you go. So, yeah, kudos to Toastmasters. Awesome. And then, have you ever been a part of a project where the janitorial service provider made a noticeable impact? Whether that's positive or negative, on a client. As you know, I own a
Yes.
janitorial company. Yeah.
When I think about how a janitorial service can meet your expectations or not meet your expectations, yes. So if they don't meet your expectations, they make a lasting impact. You do not forget that. That is, yeah, that is just a miss of the mark. And I also think about a lot of the projects that I've done in healthcare or medical clinics. The cleaning is everything. Like it will take all of that work that you've done, and if someone walks in and it's not spotless and tidy, they don't see any of the stuff you've done. All they see is what you missed or what didn't get done or what isn't clean. So it's yeah, what do they say? It's like, wearing a pants with no belt. Like it's shoes with no shoelaces. It's that piece that will just really wrap it all up in a bow and make it a beautiful full experience.
Yeah. That's a great answer. Yeah, no question. It really does stand out. We're in the industry that if you're doing everything right, you don't hear anything,
Correct.
but if you're doing things wrong, you'll hear about it all the time. So
And
yeah,
don't and the other, I guess one other piece of advice, don't cut corners on things
yeah,
like the cleaning
yes,
because yeah, that's not where you there's certain
yeah.
things you can maybe, finagle. That is not one of
Yeah,
them.
yeah, no, absolutely. You're bang on. It literally gives value. That's the one thing that I always say is, it gives value to the properties, whether it's a residential, condo
Yeah.
building or if tenants, are commercial space that are looking to, lease, it gives true value. Like people are willing to pay more if it's clean versus pay way
Yes.
less if it's dirty. So
Yes.
it goes a long way. So yeah, very good. Yeah, if you could lead any project delivery or redevelopment of any iconic building or landmark in the world, which one would it be and why?
Oh, so here's the one question I didn't think about. For me, so I can't think of an iconic building, but I can tell you the buildings that are special to a whole community or to many, many people are the buildings that are worth working on. And I think about this when I walk through New Central Library because I worked at Stuart Olson when they built that. It's a building that is is breathtaking. And then I had the opportunity to tour the Glenbow Museum, which is still under construction. And the space, like I can picture the space like full of pictures and artwork, and the space is beautiful, and the people who are involved, like that board and CEO who are involved in that project, are like they care for that project along with the Colliers team, like with love. And that's like those are the projects that are special to be built in, special to be participating in because there's something about them that's different. And when people are invested like that, so to me it doesn't matter what the project is, but if you've ever experienced a project where people are all in, like they really love what they're building and it's going to make a difference, yeah, it's a different experience.
Yeah, I love that answer. Yeah, the library is unbelievable. Like
Yes.
you do get a true experience walking in there, like
Yep.
nothing before. The architecture is just incredible. It's yeah, and you can see it's so thought through, like, and like you said, with a lot of love. So
Yes,
I can't wait to
exactly.
see the Glenbow Museum. Is there a date for that, or have you heard anything? Or
There probably
not
is.
your
I don't know
no worries.
it. I don't
Yeah,
know
no
it.
worries.
But
No
yeah,
worries.
as soon as I know it, I'll tell you because I went
Okay.
home and said to my family, I can't wait till it's open. We're going to be there as
Wow.
soon as like first day we'll be
Uh,
there.
There's a huge plug for the Glenbow Museum. That's awesome. Great. And then my last question is, if you can recommend any book, to the people of the industry. As you know, this is a property management podcast, but could be for property managers, but it could just be in general for people in the real estate industry. What book would that be and why?
There's so many books. The one that I'm thinking about is the one I've kind of didn't actually read it. I listened to a podcast summary, but is Let Them.
I'm reading it right now. Right now.
Yes, yes.
Right now.
And the
Yeah.
reason why I think of that one is because I think it applies to everyone, everywhere, all the time. And it's caused me to really reframe my thinking and what I need to own, what I should own, what I can own, and even share lessons with my kids. Like if, something happens, like if you're not included in something, that's okay. Like it that becomes not your, as I like to say, that sounds like not my problem.
Yes. Let them. Just let them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So I,
love it.
I do find it's a really good philosophy. It's
Yeah.
a little bit harder in practice sometimes, but
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
find it's a refreshing way to just settle yourself down
Yeah.
and just remind yourself,
Yeah.
what's important, what you can control.
Yeah, yeah, that's really good. I'm really early into the book. I literally started just a few days ago. It was actually a CEO group of mine, the all janitorial owners. When we read a book and someone picked that book, and I've been kind of struggling with it. And again, I'm really early into it, but I'm struggling because um, I don't it's such an easygoing perspective, and
Yes.
I don't want to be easygoing.
Yes.
So I'm struggling. I want to hear the rest of the book because maybe she justifies that and explains how, like, someone that wants perfection can just all of a sudden just say no, let them, like, yeah. So any answers to that? Yeah.
I think you could probably think to being a parent a little bit. I think there's a bit of parenting reflection for me where, first of all, I don't always know what's best. I might think I do, but I don't always know what's best. And sometimes I need to step back and not, and she talks about her kids, I know in the podcast I listen to, but just because I know how it might go or I know what an outcome could be, that doesn't mean anything. I don't have the right answers. The other thing that sticks with me about that book is there's an example where, like all your friends go out on a girls' weekend or a guys' weekend and you're not invited. And the idea is that's fine. They made a decision. And I think about that when I think, so really, do I want to force my friends and guilt them into including me in something, or those people in including me? Or if that's the decision they make, then that's the decision they make. I'd rather kind of know the truth. And maybe it doesn't matter. I don't invite everybody to everything all the time. Like I think it just takes a lot of stuff and makes you think like stop wasting any energy on that. Doesn't matter. Could use your energy for so many other things.
I love it. Yeah. No, that's good. It's a challenging listen for me, but that's probably why I need to hear it all the more.
Yes,
So
it's a good
yeah,
reflection. I think it is a really
yeah,
good reflection. I think we waste a ton of energy on stuff that is
yeah.
so unimportant.
Yeah, for sure. That's why I'm high red, right, on the chart. So
That's when my red
yeah.
is kind of high. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Awesome. Well, hey, Lisa, amazing. I'm so honored to have you on. Like, if for all of you that are watching, like, if you don't have Lisa on LinkedIn, you probably already do, but definitely follow her on LinkedIn. She's at every event of everywhere, and she's yeah. I'm just so proud, honored to have you on because you're a real legend and iconic person in Calgary. So
Thanks, Jared. I
yeah,
appreciate that. And I
yeah,
still tell the story about how we met. I love
Yeah.
to tell people that story.
Yeah, the
Like
lottery
just
airplane.
don't underestimate the
Yeah,
strangers you meet along the way,
that's right.
honestly. You
That's
just
right.
never know.
Yeah, always engage. Just try engaging in that conversation because you don't know who's sitting beside
Yes.
you. Yeah. One time I sat beside, just a side story, I sat beside the founder of Opa on an airplane. That was so cool.
Yes.
Yeah, the Opa,
Yes.
the Greek food. Yeah. Yeah, and he just said, you know, like, he had a Greek accent, and I asked him, "Oh, what brought you to Canada?" And he said, "To come live the Canadian dream." And I was like, what is that? He's like, "Have you heard of Opa?" I'm like, "Oh, that's so cool."
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, yeah, you never know. You never know. But amazing. Well, thank you, Lisa. I wish you continued success, especially, in your new career. Keep it going. Colliers is so fortunate to have someone like you. So
I'm
thank
fortunate
you
to be
so
there
much.
too. It's a
Amazing.
mutually fortunate situation.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much. Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you.